channel. My name is Keisha and you're watching Zati K Creations. So by the time you see this video, it is either on Labor Day or after Labor Day. And I do hope that you found time to get some much needed rest for your mind, body, and your spirit over the long holiday weekend. We spend so much time laboring, right, with our family, our co-workers, doing so much for others and ourselves that we are actually grateful to have a day where we can, or a weekend where we can observe it as a day of rest from our labor. So I do hope that you found time in this weekend to get some much needed rest for yourself. Okay, so I have been talking about making this tote bag for about 2-3 weeks now, and I am finally finding time to get that done. I am not using a big 4 or big 5 pattern or even an indie pattern to make my tote bag. I'm actually going to be following a DIY tutorial that I found online. So before I began sewing, I knew nothing about a big 4, big 5 indie pattern company whatsoever. I just knew I wanted to sew. I like clothes, I like fashion, I love that kind of stuff. I wanted to start sewing. So what I did was I went online actually. I went to YouTube, as many of us do, and I just began to search out different types of videos for DIY projects. I am very much a visual learner, so I learn by watching and seeing and actually doing and following along in a process. So for me, it was important that I found videos that would help me in my sewing journey. So then as I'm watching these videos, it dawns on me that, you know, you're watching the videos, but you are new to sewing. You might want to document, right, on paper, the steps to this project, some key things you might need to know and remember should you decide to go back and make this item again. So I think I already had a couple of planners that I had purchased probably from Amazon. I think I had 2 at the time, and I went to those planners, and those planners didn't really give me everything I thought I needed in one space. I really wasn't into like having fabric swatches and things like that. I just wanted to know like just the basic things I would need to remember to make the garment. So what I'm going to share with you today in my video is a simple 1-page document I created, and it really helped me hone in on all the things that I would need to know and remember and just take note of as I'm working through a DIY project. All right, so I'm gonna put a picture of the document that I created as I began to explore sewing more so in the DIY space versus using any of the big 4, big 5 indie type patterns. So what you see here is basically the tool I created so that I could make sure I kept everything as it pertains to that particular project in one place, a one-stop shop. So if I decide to go back and make another item similar, I would have one place to go. So I simply, at the very top, I put the item or the description that would be just simply what it says, a description of whatever it is I'm making, a scrunchie, a tote bag, a zipper pouch. Yeah, that goes in that block there. And then the next block you see there's tutorial, pattern, or designer. And that's basically where I would put the person's name whose video I may have followed to make this project. It could be their name, it could be their YouTube channel, something like that. And then where it's applicable, I put the size and measurements down so that way I would know if I wanted to make a scrunchie of this size again. This is the measurement that I had from when I made that pattern the first time, or made that item the first time. And then materials needed, I made a list of all the supplies that that individual used, or things that I may have added for my preference in making that item, and then also the fabric that was needed to make the item as well. So these first 5 blocks are just like the foundational blocks that I found very useful as I began to work on my DIY projects. And then the next block is the project plan. So the project plan is basically all the steps that I need to follow to make that item. This is where I get really detailed, and I do lots of pausing and rewinding and fast forwarding as I'm tracking this in the video. But yeah, I make sure that I write down every step that that person did, and maybe additional steps that I might take if I'm making that project again. And then all of my machine settings. So machine settings can be really tricky, and it just depends on your machine type, your fabric type, and just all different types of mechanics. So I make sure that whenever I'm making a DIY, I do keep track of the stitch type, the stitch width, the stitch length, the needle I use, and the tension I also use for that particular project. And then at the very bottom, I will take any personal notes that would keep me on track or things I notice as I'm working through the project. So yeah, this is pretty much a very quick snapshot of what it takes for me to create any of my DIY projects. And I will tell you, I am going to be using this again as I work through making my tote bag in the coming days and week ahead. So I thought this might be very helpful for people who are just starting out in sewing, and you might watch a video and not really know where to begin, or you know, you're watching it, you're following all the instructions, or you see the instructions being followed, but not really know how to take all of that in and how to start a process for yourself. This would be very helpful. Also want to track at the very bottom. When I first started, I was wanting to keep track of the date I started and the date that I finished a project, because that would just keep me, I guess, on track and just help me notice how long it might take me to get any given DIY project done. And of course, I did want to also make sure that I captured pictures of all of my finished products. That way I could have something to look back on. And I'm so glad that I actually started doing that, because as I go back and look at the things I've made in the past, I can see where things have definitely improved over time, for sure. So it is also nice to be able to see that that growth in sewing for myself, and it will also probably help you also see your growth in your sewing journey. So yeah, I thought this would be very helpful for those of you who are just starting out on your sewing journey and may not be ready to get your feet wet in the big 4 patterns just yet. You know, don't be afraid to do that, because there's lots of learning that takes place when you start working on the big 4, big 5 patterns. Lots of growth and development happens on that level. But if you're not ready for that, by no means, that's perfectly fine. Stick to some simple DIYs. Consider developing your own tracking tool or your project plan sheet. That way you are able to keep everything that you're learning in that video in a one-stop shop. I will tell you, I am a writer. I write a lot, and I did start to notice that this project plan block is not quite big enough for me. The project plan block is not big enough for me. So I do at times have to turn my page over and begin making my notes on the page, you know, on the back. So, but yeah, I do want to encourage someone who's just beginning their sewing journey to think about how you might want to begin tracking your projects, just to be organized and thoughtful in what you're doing and how you're doing it. That will end this video. I do hope again that you all are feeling well rested and that you are taking care of yourselves, and let me know what it is you're working on. Are you done with all of your summer sewing and thinking more about your fall plans? I have not given a whole lot of thought to my fall sewing yet, because I want to get my tote bag done, honestly. I've been talking about forever. But yeah, I want to know what you guys are working on. So yeah, let me know down in the comments box. And for those of you who are not new to sewing, you know, what did you find helpful or useful for yourself when you started sewing in terms of keeping track of your projects and your plan for your projects? I'm sure there are others out there that are wanting to know and would love for you to share your best practices and things that you found very helpful and useful to you. So I want to thank you all for watching my video, and until we come together again, take care and God bless.